Hey guys, and welcome to Sasquatch Theory. I hope you guys enjoyed the videos from the killing fields, and if you haven't watched it yet, you should check it out sometime. I wanted to officially announce that I now have a P.O. box set up for the channel. This is for people who are not able to use a computer or the internet. A lot of folks that I've talked to in the past don't know how to use internet, cell phones, and emails, and that's okay. You guys are better off anyways, as it's all designed to distract people and control them. But yeah, write me up a legible story and I will read it off on the channel sometime. If you guys want to send things, such as equipment or maybe an item to gift the Sasquatch, I'm totally up for it. I really want to try one of those Bigfoot primate pheromone chips that people have been using. I think if maybe I set up my audio recorders around that perimeter, I may possibly get some good stuff. In today's interview, we have a strange Dogman encounter from the southern region of California. I know what some people are thinking, and possibly a lot of people don't believe in that. Well, I'm going to say I do. If Sasquatch exists, who am I to say that an upright canine creature couldn't? There are too many stories out there, and they all line up. I feel like this story is true because it had a beginning, middle, and end. He stuck with the storyline and the details never changed. You could feel the emotion in his voice as he was telling his encounter. If you have an encounter you want to get off your chest, get a hold of me. Links are down below. Alright guys, let's dive into this Dogman encounter.
This took place, I would say, about 20, 25 years ago. And it was, I always got where we live at. It kind of was a little dark place. There wasn't, there's a corridor that kind of goes in the back of my yard, and it's, it leads down to the forest area. And it's like, kind of like it's wooded, and there's a bunch of trees and stuff. So there's a lot of undergrowth and stuff like that. But I always got this weird inclination or weird feeling when I would look outside, and a lot of times you think it's your imagination. I was a young kid. I was probably 9 at the time when I started having some of these experiences with this creature, or, whatever you want to call it. But I just knew, I always had this feeling that something was outside and it was looking back, and I never could really, put my finger on it, but it just gave me this weird vibe. And so, some time would pass, and some weird stuff started happening in our neighborhood, our city, where we would start, I think the first scenario that happened, we had a dog. It was a large dog. It was like a Saint Bernard, I believe, and its head was at the top of the street. So almost like it was just mutilated, and someone almost just like took the head off and just took the body, and the head was just there at the top of the street. So we seen that when I was going, on my way to school one day. We witnessed that, and that wasn't the first. There was numerous attacks going on. And mind you, we live in the forest, so you would think that, there is some wild game, coming through there. You'll have your coyotes, we have bear, we have mountain lions. So we have all the animals that you kind of expect in the wildlife to be around that vicinity. But I just found it kind of odd, because I've seen the way other animals kind of the way they carry themselves and conduct themselves, and I found it kind of strange that you would find just the head of an animal there. And so that was the first experience I kind of had in that area, where I started starting to see some physical type of I guess evidence, you could say. And so a few weeks had passed, and after that, basically, I believe I was on my way to school. I was riding my bike, and I walk outside, and I see a cat of a head. And so, we think that, okay, well, that's weird. That's weird. What would just take leave the head here and take the whole body? And we had noticed that the law enforcement was actually in the neighborhood investigating, because that wasn't the first attack that was going on. There was other attacks going on wildlife and animals, and obviously it was raising some red flags, or some sort of, it was making people apprehensive to see these sorts of things, because they didn't know if it was a cult, they didn't know if it was, some sort of, maybe a wild pack of coyotes, or what the case might be. But there was animals' bodies showing up with just the heads, and the whole body would be taken. So it was numerous. And even I had an animal of mine. It was a cat that had gone missing, and just one day it was just gone. And, I mean, like I said, it could be anything. It could be anything that had killed it. But it was just weird that we were seeing, the heads just sitting there, because usually prey will take off with the animals and take them to their, wherever they're supposed to go, and, have their dinner or their food. But they won't just, rip the head off from the body like that and just leave it there. It looked very, surreal. So after we witnessed that, the law enforcement had been investigating the animal mutilations, and, we had seen dogs, cats, and it wasn't just, our cat went missing. So there was numerous animals in the actual neighborhood. And mind you, I grew up in this house. This was the same house I've grown up in since I was a child. So this was kind of rare for this to all happen at this time, this time frame. It was all within, I would say, a year or two. I would say 1995, between 1995 and 1996 is when it happened. And it all kind of, happened in like almost chronological order. It's like this happened, this happened, this happened. And so after I noticed the animal's head, there was probably maybe a few weeks in between time, and me and my brother, I have an older brother, I forgot what we were doing. We were downstairs, and I don't know if we were just kind of, hanging out or watching TV or doing something, but we have a sliding glass door that kind of sits parallel. It sits parallel to our backyard, so it kind of gives you a panoramic view of the backyard. And we noticed, this creature, this I mean, it's hard to even explain, because it's just something that I wouldn't believe it, even if, I probably wouldn't believe it if I seen it by myself. But the fact that I was able to witness it with somebody else makes me, believe that there was, in fact, this is a real entity, a real thing. And, that's probably what was, doing that to the livestock in the area. But I remember watching, we have about a 15-foot wall in the back of, my house, and I seen this creature. It was all black, and it was on all fours, and it was crawling. It started crawling up the east side of the wall on the east end of our backyard. And it almost looked like a spider. That's the best way to describe it, like a large, overgrown, all black. But I mean, mind you, it was a creature. It looked like I would say almost like a half dog, half man. I know people will refer to these creatures as Dogman, but I feel like that doesn't really do this creature justice for what it is and what it looks like. I mean, it looked like a straight, something you would see in your nightmares. And it was all black, crawling over the wall on the east end. And I noticed it started on all fours. Okay, so it was crawling on all fours. And me and my brother, when we first saw it in the backyard, we were almost in shock, and we were freaked. I mean, we were scared, we were traumatized, we were just almost dumbfounded with just fear. And we peeked through the mirror, through the blinds, and mind you, we blacked out everything. There was no lights inside the house, so there's pretty much no way that it could have been able to see us. But it was walking on all fours, and it got about halfway through our backyard, and for whatever reason, I don't know if it was the fear, if it was maybe the electricity in the air, or some sort of environmental change, but it was able to pick up on us looking at it. And what it did was it stood up bipedally from that moment, and it was on its two legs, and it gave us this look, basically almost like it could kill us right then and there if it wanted to. And I felt almost like it's one of those things where I never want to see it again. Some people say they wish to see these types of things again. I would never want to see this creature again, and it's still, to this day, just talking about it, it brings back trauma, and it definitely makes you relive the event. And it's hard for me to even explain it to people because it's so real in my memory. Um, but to other people, they hear it and they'll say, "Oh, well, this guy's crazy." But I seen it with somebody else. I seen it with my older brother, and he can even be a witness to it, and he will give me the exact same breakdown of what this entity looked like. Um, so it was walking halfway through our yard. It basically noticed us, out of the blue. I don't know how it was able to pick us up in the complete darkness behind blinds, in silence, with a window in between us, a sliding glass door in between us. So I don't know how it would pick up the smell either. Um, but it looked at us and it had red eyes. Its eyes were glowing. Its ears were cropped up. It stood, I would say, about 7 feet tall, anywhere from 300 to 350 pounds, the biggest, strongest, most muscular creature you can imagine. It looks like it can tear a human apart with ease, and it looks like, it can tear apart any animal with ease. And the fact that it was able to go from bipedal to all fours. And to me, some people will say it looks unnatural when it was on its two legs. To me, it looked very natural. It looked just like you and I, like a human being able to walk. But this thing clearly wasn't human. It was huge and it was muscular, and it took the shape of like it had the shape of a dog and a man. It's hard to explain, but it was all black fur, had red eyes, very muscular, and its eyes, to me, they were glowing. So that told me they were adept at night vision, or had some sort of, perspective that it can see, at night, where when it was probably doing its hunting, for these animals that were going, missing. And I just kind of put two and together. I said, this could possibly be the animal that's been killing all the livestock in the neighborhood, all the, the animals that are, showing up with their heads just chopped off pretty much. And so the creature gave us this look. I remember it was about maybe 7 to 10 seconds. It was a very short time that it was looking at us, but for whatever reason, I felt that it was telling us, like, I'm not after you right now, but I could kill you if I wanted to. Like, I felt like it was already after another entity or an animal or whatever. And it was just happening to, travel through our backside. Cause like I said, there's a corridor kind of where it's like a little area that's wooded. And I feel like it was traveling up and down that corridor to do its hunting, because it kind of sat in the backyard of a lot of these, people's houses, and, they can kill a lot of animals and get food as a result. Um, but the creature gave us the look for about 7 to 10 seconds, and then it went back down to all fours, and it started basically walking back out. And I noticed it was going back down to the west end of our neighborhood, or my backyard, and it crawled the fence. It climbed on the other side of the fence and just went out into the darkness. And um, yeah, it was surreal, man. It just was something that I'll never forget. Even 25 years after, I'll never forget it.
Yeah, that's a frightening encounter for sure.
Yeah, yeah. And I wouldn't. To be honest with you, I don't think I would have believed it if I witnessed it myself. But the fact that I seen it with my brother, and we're both, we're not clinically, diagnosed as being, having any major, issues, or we don't have any mental shortcomings. So it's not like something where, we're hallucinating or we're under the influence. We both are seeing the same things at that same time, and we both can testify, okay, yeah, this is what we saw. You could take us into I even tell people I would be willing to do a lie detector test just to prove to people that this isn't something I'm making up. This is a very real event that took place. And this creature, for whatever, people could say, oh, well, it's real or it's not. Something was killing those animals, and we did witness something. It wasn't just a figment of our imagination. I would be able to excuse it away, I guess. If it was just me, I could say, oh, well, I was a younger kid. My imagination was going wild. But the fact that I, had these, this recollection, and my brother also saw the same exact entity at the same time, makes me believe that there's some sort of credibility to this, And I've tried to do research on it on my own and tried to see if anybody else had this encounter, in the area. I've gone on the internet. I've tried to find forums. I've tried to, do outwork. I've even thought about contacting the law enforcement in the area, the sheriffs, just to see if, anybody else had basically, reported this creature that was basically, it's not, I mean, basically it's out of the norm. It's not something you would, even believe existed.
What was your reaction when you guys laid eyes on the creature?
Well, fear, shock. Like I said, I felt this creature. I felt it was almost looking into my soul, and I felt like it can. It was basically it sent me. I felt for whatever reason, I felt like it was sending me a message, basically saying, "You're not who I'm after, but I can kill you if I wanted to right now." That's kind of what the gist that I got from it. It was hunting. I know it was hunting. That's one thing I know for sure. And fear basically embellished us. We were silent. I mean, the best way to describe it is when you see a creature like that. Like, I mean, you'll see a bear, you'll see, I've seen mountain lions, I've seen all sorts of wild animals, and you're taken back. You're like, whoa, those are, that's something you don't see every day. But this is something where it almost just freezes you right there. You don't. I mean, that's what I remember. I remember just being frozen in fear, thinking like this thing can bust through this window right now and take us out in a matter of a second, and we wouldn't have a damn thing we can do about it. And I mean, it was surreal. I remember we were both just we were trying to be as silent as possible. We were trying to be as quiet as possible. Um, Basically, just trying to take cover behind the darkness behind the blinds. And I remember we were peeking through, not we weren't even peeking through a lot. So it's like I don't even know. I remember thinking, how the heck did this thing even see us? That's what I remember thinking. Like, how the hell did it see us through the windows, the blinds, in the complete cover of darkness? I don't believe any, inside noise was even, going on at the time. So there was really nothing that would give our point away, and it was able to pick us up. And its eyes, I'll never forget its eyes. It's the red glowing eyes. It's something you see, and I hear about this sometimes with the Bigfoot encounters. You'll hear that they have the glowing eyes, or they're able to see. You see it with the primates. You see it with some of the larger cats. They have the night vision, where they're adept at seeing at night, and this creature had that. And the fact that, I mean, it was just massive, though, massive.
Yeah. Help me understand, like, your explanation in the beginning. You said there was a wall that was 15 feet high.
There's a 15-foot wall that sits on the east side. Okay, the east side. It's like a large cement 15-foot wall. It's very high.
Mhm.
And that's when we first noticed it. Okay, I don't know, for whatever reason, I can't recall why we were looking outside at the time, but that's when I remember I first noticed it. It was crawling over the wall, and it looked so unnatural. It didn't look like anything you can imagine, because it wasn't like just jumping over a wall like you traditionally see. It was like crawling, like it was like attached to the wall, like it had, a good grip to the wall, pretty much. And I seen it climb over the 15-foot wall, and it started slowly making its way in our backyard, on all fours, kind of crawling like a dog would. And it got maybe about 10, 15 feet away from us, and that's when it turned. It made a left. Okay, turned its head, stood up on its two legs, and gave us a stare of just sheer. I mean, it was one of those things where it's just like, you can't even put it in a movie. A movie wouldn't even do it justice with the Hollywood cinematography. I mean, there's no way to describe something like this. It's just, I mean, like I said, I wouldn't believe it happened if I didn't witness it with another person. But it was in fact real. It was a real thing, and it was there, and it was hunting.
Yeah. And you gave a lot of details on how the creature looked. Did
Hmm.
it look similar to photos you've seen online of a dogman?
Yes, it did. Yes, it did.
Okay.
Yes. I was not sure. I mean, to be honest with you, and this is why I kind of got into your channel, I'm going to be honest, is because of my experience. Um, I'm not going to pass judgment on someone. If I seen a creature that looked like this, okay, I'm not going to pass judgment on someone seeing, having an experience in the woods with a Bigfoot or with, a large primate or, whatever, however you want to categorize these creatures as. But it made me realize that, hey, you know what? There's things that we can't explain, or maybe conventionally modern science can't explain at this time, but are in fact very real. These creatures are there, and I don't know if they're able to cloak themselves or they're able to, evade detection. But I know that this creature was able to pick up on us with ease when I believe there should have been no way that we've been able to give up our location, our cue, and he was able to pick up on us, whether through scent, whether it was through the electricity we were giving off, the fear we were permeating. But it was basically something that I still can't wrap my head around, and that's why I've been so reluctant to even tell this to many people. I mean, I don't even tell this to my family. I'll talk about it with my brother, who I had the experience with, and me and him will just say, "Oh yeah, that was a crazy experience. Like, what was that? What was that? That's not natural, but it was there, and it was in fact a real thing, a real phenomenon."
Yeah. And did this creature have a tail?
That's the part, to be honest with you, I can't quite recall. I remember it being all black, okay, and I remember thinking its ears were, cropped up. They went upright about 3-4 inches. I didn't see a tail on it because it was, like I said, it was in the dark.
Mhm.
What I did notice is it didn't have, like, you see a dog's paws. It didn't have paws. It had like hands, like us, like humans, you know.
Mhm.
Um, but it was completely all black, and it was furry, and it was larger than any human you can imagine, though. I mean, it was bigger and stronger and more muscular. I mean, it looked like, it looked like a freak of nature, just something that was, that could take on any NFL football player, or even, your top athlete. I mean, I'm an athlete myself, and I mean, I know I couldn't stand a chance against this thing.
So it came
And
over the fence like on all fours.
yes, it did. It came all over the fence on all fours, and I remember thinking it was like crawling almost.
Hmm.
And it got halfway. It got halfway, about maybe 20, 20, 30 feet in my backyard. And that's where it stood bipedally. And then I remember, I think when it was stood on its two legs, I remember thinking, this is too much. I mean, this is surreal. I mean, this is something that's supposed to be a figment of your imagination, but yet, we're witnessing it 10, 15 feet away from us, and it's looking right at us. Just like it's, I mean, it had the look of death, almost like it was just, like I said, it could have killed us right then and there. And I mean, it wouldn't have taken all of more than a few seconds with how, well built, and how this thing was constructed. But it had, I mean, it had hands. It didn't have like paws or anything like that. And it was dark, very muscular. Fur also. It had hair, not too long a hair, but it had hair to it. And I remember thinking the ears, like I said, they almost look like not like a wolf or like a German Shepherd's ears, how they cropped up, how they go up a few inches, and it had a snout to it and everything. I mean, it was surreal, And you hear Dogman, you hear people say Dogman. Um, and it doesn't. Once you experience one of these things, I mean, I don't think the Dogman gives it credit, the word itself, because it's such a scary entity, or whatever it is, a being or creature or whatever this creature. I mean, I don't even like to sit here and say what it is because I don't know exactly what it is, but I do know what I saw. It was a real event,
Yeah.
that me and my brother both witnessed.
And what do you
And I
think it
mean,
is? Do you think it's an entity or do you think it's an actual creature?
well, the thing was is that the animals, that's the thing. I mean, it's hard for me to say, but I do think it is a physical. I mean, there's parts of me that wants to say it could be an entity, but then there's other parts of me that wants to say it's a real creature, because why were these animals, why were their heads just showing up, and the whole bodies would just be taken off. I mean, like I said, a coyote 60, 70 pounds isn't going to take off a German Shepherd who's 250 pounds. and just take the body of a German, or I mean, not a German Shepherd, but Saint Bernard. Um, they're not going to be able to just take a body like that very easily. I mean, maybe a cat, yeah, but to have the head just completely cut off like it was a clean cut, that's going to take a little bit of precision, a little bit of strength. And I don't know if the coyote, I mean, I know a coyote has a probably good bite, jaw force, but to be able to rip a head off clean like that, it just seems rather, I don't know. And so, I mean, but this creature that I witnessed looks like something that could do that. Looks like something that would be very, capable of even taking a human and having its way with it. And it
Yeah.
didn't look nice. It didn't look friendly. It didn't look like something you want, to cross paths with. I still to this day, it's not something I would go looking for. It's not something I would want to encounter again. It does make me think though, like I do, I'm constantly thinking about like, did anybody else have experiences around that time in that area? And the fact that the law enforcement was also investigating around that time in that area, it makes me think, okay, well, maybe they thought that there was a cult or there was something going on that shouldn't have been going on, or maybe, but
Yeah.
it just seemed very surreal and very odd that it all kind of like I said, it chronologically kind of fit fit the mold, and they all kind of happened, in chronological order, where I started seeing the mutilations, and then I had the encounter with this creature walking in the backyard. And then it's funny because as quick as it happened, it just stopped. The mutilation stopped. We didn't see the creature after that. And my family still lives in that same house to this day. And mind you, it's a weird house. It gives you, kind of these weird vibes. But they still haven't. I mean, they haven't seen anything like that since. And I talk to my brother all the time, who still lives there. And we still talk about it to this day. We've talked about it recently, and he remembers. He was telling me, he's like, "Man, what was that? What did we see?" And it's like it's hard to explain what it was, but it was something that's not, it's not normal. It's not something we're accustomed to, and I think it's something that's highly intelligent, that's able to, operate at night, and it's able to somehow stealth itself or cloak itself and be undetected.
Yeah. And when you saw this upright canine creature, did it make any sound?
Completely silent. It didn't make any sound. It made no sound whatsoever. Mind you, though, we were behind a sliding glass door, like a glass door, so that the sound would be muffled a little bit.
Mm.
But it did not make any sound. I couldn't smell it either. I couldn't get a good smell of it because, like I said, I mean, to be honest with you, though, when you see this, if you were to see this creature, it's not something you want to really engage. Like I wasn't trying to engage. I remember just being frozen, like shell shock. The best way you can describe it, you're shell shock. Me and my brother
Yeah.
were shell shocked. We were frozen in fear.
Yeah. Anytime you see a cryptid, it's not something that you're going to want to engage and follow.
No, no, no. And the fact that it was able to spot us, and it basically recognized me and him looking at it, that really kind of just made us, stop in our tracks and be, kind of just, be, awestruck, because I mean, I remember thinking like this. I just remember thinking, going through my head, I remember thinking this thing could kill me right now if it wants to. It can literally kill me. But I felt like that wasn't its mission or its intent. I felt like it was already after something else. When I seen it walking across my yard, it wasn't like it was just kind of just whimsically going about. It was going with direction. It was going with intent. It was moving with intent. But the
Mhm.
fact that it just stood up bipedally, I don't know if it was a way for it to show its power or show its strength, or let us know like, hey, I'm here, you know. But it did that. Once it seen us, okay, like I said, it was on all fours walking in my backyard, turned to the left, seen us, stood up on its two legs, and just basically gazed at us like looking into our souls.
Yeah. It
And
sounds
and it
like he
was
was on the hunt.
that's what I was thinking. And that's what I was thinking at the time. I'm like, this, it gave me the vibe that, because like I said, it could have. if it wanted to, it could have killed us both with ease. I mean, I remember thinking about that. I still, even at the time, I remember thinking, there's no way this is real. This is not supposed to be real. I mean, this is supposed to be, our imagination and, in the movies, but why is this in my backyard? Why is this creature, basically trekking through, my small little quaint town? But the fact that it recognized us, and it was, it had features to it that it's very common what you see with other animals, kind of makes me think, okay, well, maybe there is some truth to this. Maybe there is a reality to this that we just don't know. Like I believe, like after watching your show and hearing the encounters with the Bigfoot, I've never experienced a Bigfoot. I mean, I don't know what it is, but I believe in them. I believe that they can be real. I know if I seen what I saw, this Dogman creature, and I know most people would probably just, explain it away as, oh, well, he was just hallucinating, this and that. But like I said, you can give me a lie detector test. I tell that to anybody, because if you really witness something that you believe is something true, and I mean, like I said, I seen it with my brother. You have nothing to hide. It is what it is. I witnessed it. But it is. I mean, it's something very real, and it's something that will stay with me for the rest of my life. I'll never, like I said, I won't go looking for this creature. I don't want to see it again. If I had the choice to never see it again, I'd be perfectly fine with that. But I feel like it knows who I am. I don't know why, but I feel like it knows. Like it took almost like it took a benchmark, or it took a bookmark of us, just to let us know, hey, I know you're there, and I could kill you right now, but you're not who I'm after or what I'm after. But I got the vibe it was hunting, and it was at night. And that's when a lot of the mutilations were happening at night, because we'd wake up the next day and we'd find the carcasses of the heads, not the carcasses of the animals in the neighborhood.
Yeah. And have you heard any other Dogman reports in Southern California where you were at?
You know what? I have. Yes, I have. Yep, I have. I've heard of, not in that city, because I was doing research in San Dimas. And like I said, I was almost to the point I almost called the law enforcement. I was about to call the law enforcement and to ask, but I mean, it's one of those things, it's hard to open up to people about this. Even doing this, I'm going to be honest with you, I was hesitant because, it's like you tell this story and people are going to either label you as saying, okay, well, maybe there's some truth to it, or this guy's a complete, he's off he's off the radar. He's not all there. But like I said, the fact that I seen it with somebody gives me a little bit more reassurance that, hey, you know what? This wasn't just me having some sort of, hallucination. This was a real event that took place. Now, whatever it was, I have no idea. But I do know it looked, like a wolf, like a dog man, like the people say, dog, like a dog man. That's a perfect explanation for it, because it had, almost like, the ability to kind of do both. It had features that a human would have, but it also had, the dog-like features, but it was far bigger than any human. That's the part where it confuses me. So it's like, I mean, what could it be? It's not somebody walking in a costume, in the backyard, 7'5", 7'5", 350, 400 pounds, built like freaking, an Olympian. It's not that.
Yeah. And I always thought that Greek mythology and the old Viking stories were kind of fake or just made up. But the more I think about it, there's kind of some truth to it, because they're talking about, the different realms, which is like heaven and hell, or the underworld. And they're discussing giants and these half man, half creatures that used to exist. And if you really think about it, it doesn't sound likely, but when you listen to these encounter stories, that's what people are telling you too.
Yeah, I 100% agree. And like they say, I mean, history, stories, folklore, all that stuff, there's always usually some sort of truth behind it. I mean, whether the way we perceive an event, or whether the way we interpret certain things, that can be different, that can be skewed, but usually these stories are all based on some sort of truth. Like you were saying, it's like, so like the Greek mythology, for whatever reason, I kind of get the sense it's like I think Nibiru or Nibiru, the Egyptian like dogman creature. I don't know why,
Anubis.
but Anubis, yeah, Anubis.
Hmm.
For whatever reason, it's like I don't know if it has anything to do with that. I don't know, but it's like I don't know if it could be, something that, but this is a creature that I can tell is not something that you want to mess with. It's not something, and it's something that can kill. I feel like it could kill even to this day. I'm a big dude, and I'm not a small guy, and I could, I'm pretty well equipped at defending myself, and I wouldn't stand a chance against this thing. I mean, it would take me out in 2 seconds.
Hmm.
Anybody. I
Were
mean,
its eyes glowing the whole time you saw it?
you know what? I noticed the eyes when it was walking. I noticed it had the glowing eyes, the red eyes, but really when it stood out the most was when it looked at us directly in the eyes and it made eye contact with us. That's when you notice the eyes were very translucent. Um,
Hmm.
Almost like I said, like a night vision, like you could see at dark. And this thing was stealthy. I mean, it wasn't making a lot of noise, it wasn't barking, it wasn't howling, it was moving stealthy, like it was hunting.
Hmm.
And like I said, it was on all fours. And then it got to us, it looked at us and then stood up. And that's when you really noticed. I believe I seen the red eyes when it was walking, because it was came down the wall or whatever, started walking in the backyard on the fours or started, trekking. And I think that's when I saw, but when it really became paramount is when it looked at us directly into our souls, and it basically, like I said, it was almost like it was telepathically communicating with us. It was weird.
Yeah. And did you hear anything when you felt that feeling?
When, you know what, it was completely silent. It was completely silent because I remember we were trying to be as quiet as possible. Our
You
parents
mean
were
like the look that he gave you when he looked over? It was like he was communicating with you guys, like, "Don't come over here and
exactly.
mess with me."
Well, yeah, exactly. That's exactly what I mean. What I got was it said basically, I can kill you right now, but you're not what I'm after. That's what the message I got.
Right, because he knew you guys were right there, and you guys got that message because his head turned directly towards you
You're
guys, and he
you're
gave you
totally
that
correct.
evil look.
But the crazy thing was that we weren't trying to give up the location. I mean, we were so fearful. I mean, we thought, okay, what the hell is this thing crawling in our backyard like that for? So we were, the first thing that came over me and my brother was, oh, we're just, we're intrigued with it. We're interested. We want to explore, but we didn't want to give our location away. We didn't want to give our identity away because we were trying to basically, be discreet. And it basically saw us. Like I said, we were peeking barely through the blinds. Like there wasn't much room in the blinds, and we were probably maybe about a half an inch, and it was completely dark in the background, so it couldn't have been able to see into well. And it basically, for whatever reason, it picked up on us, and it didn't say anything. It didn't make any noise. It just looked at us, and the message I got was that it can kill me right now, but I'm not after you. I'm after something else.
Mhm.
For
Yeah, you
whatever
you could
reason,
tell
that's
he
the
was
message.
focused on his focus was somewhere else, and that's where he was going.
Exactly. Well, he was traveling westbound. He was traveling westbound to the wooded areas, and that's where I think he liked to travel when he was doing his hunting. I think he would travel because it was, a secluded area, and he could, kind of keep himself hidden, but he can also attack animals. I mean, there's a lot of animals that he can feed off of. But that's the vibe I got. I got the vibe that he wasn't he I wasn't his prey. But I got it that basically I got the inclination that he could have had his way with me if he wanted to. Don't get in his way.
Yeah. And did you and your brother go and look for evidence the next day, or see if you can find any tracks?
We did. We went on the side where we basically noticed he walked over, or not crawled over, and we tried to look. And basically, I mean, you can see there was kind of like a little indentation in the bushes where you see it was almost like a U type shape, where it's like something may have been able to press itself over, or maybe crawled over or walked over the top. Um, but we didn't see any we didn't see any footprints, fingerprints, anything like that. We weren't able to catch that, but we did try to go and investigate to see where did this thing go, or how did it, just magically just show up in the backyards and just take off on the opposite as quick as it came. And the part I'm still trying to figure out is how somebody else had to have seen it. I mean, if we both saw it in our backyard at the time when all these animals were being killed, I can believe, I would have to believe somebody else had witnessed this. I don't think I'm the only one, which
Yeah,
is crazy to
absolutely.
think. That's crazy to think because you're sitting there saying, what, a dog-like creature or a wolf-like creature is sitting there walking in Southern California 25 years ago in people's backyards killing their, you would say that person's crazy. But, I seen it with somebody else. We saw the same thing. It was doing things that were, out of the norm. I mean, something that I wouldn't, expect a normal animal to do, but it did have animal-like qualities to it or traits, like the eyes or, like the, the snout, the ears, the ears were cropped up. I remember the ears were very pronounced also. They went up pretty high, a few inches.
Hmm. And were there dogs in the neighborhood barking when you saw the creature?
No, I didn't hear anything. It was complete silence, and for whatever reason, I don't know. I don't think a dog or any animal. I mean, I get the inclination that if an animal or a dog were to come across this, they wouldn't, they would know their role right away as being in the alpha in the pecking order, which would be the dominant species. Because this is a species. I mean, it would take a dog apart in 2 seconds. I mean, there's no, like I said, there was a Saint Bernard, which is a mastiff breed dog, which is a very large, huge dog, and its head was completely just decapitated,
Hmm.
and it was at the
And
top of our street.
and judging from imagination, do you think that if this creature encountered a Sasquatch, do you think it would win in a fight?
That's that's a tough one. I'm going to be honest with you. I've seen the because I do a lot of I follow a lot of I follow your channel. I watch a lot of documentaries on Bigfoot, and Bigfoot seems like a very menacing, strong being. But this thing also looks like it can have its way with just about anything. I mean, the fact that it was so it's very agile, it's very fast, it's very strong. I mean, it would be hard to say. To be honest with you, I'd rather encounter a Bigfoot though. If I've never encountered a Bigfoot, I've never had stones thrown at me, or I've never had, a 900-pound, ape-like thing yelling at me in the woods. So it's kind of speculative me saying, oh, well, I'd rather, encounter this one or that one. But to be honest, I'd rather encounter a Bigfoot. That's just, I would rather see a Bigfoot than see this creature again, because it was that scary. And to me, it looked so adept at killing. And it was a pure hunter.
Yeah.
I would be more fearful of this thing than I would of a Bigfoot. And that's just me, personally. But then again, I've never experienced a Bigfoot. I would think that a Bigfoot would be quite terrifying as well if I did ever encounter one.
Mhm.
But it's hard to say, man. This thing looks, it looked like a freak of nature. It looked like you can take on a lion with ease, pretty much. Look like you can take on a bear. Doesn't look like many animals that could be able to take on this animal. And it was, like I said, it was about 350, 400 pounds, 7 feet to 7 feet 5. I remember its muscles were very pronounced. It
Mhm.
had a very well developed body. Like the back was well developed, the arms, the shoulders, the delts, everything. You could see the muscular detail of it, even through the fur. And I was just shocked. I was like, what the heck is this? I mean, it
Mhm.
looked like a machine, like a killing machine. It was surreal.
How long was the hair?
Probably about 6 to 7 inches, not very long. Like not long, like like how you maybe not even 6 to 7, a little bit longer than a dog, I would say. Like you see a dog's hair, a little bit longer than that. Probably about, I would say, 7 inches, 6 to 7 inches. So
Okay.
it wasn't quite as short as, like, say, a wolf or like a dog's hair or even a coyote's. A little bit longer, but
Mhm.
not so long as to, like, where it was, it couldn't have been more than a couple inches, I would say, maybe 6 inches.
Yeah. And did you notice any shine or different colors to the black fur?
You know
It was
what? I
pretty dark,
noticed
so
it was
probably
dark.
not.
Yeah, it was dark. Yeah, it was dark at the time, and it was in the 90s. So, um, we didn't. I don't know if we had a floodlight out there at the time, so it was really dark at the time. So it was hard to get a perfect visual on the details of the skin and all that stuff. But um, I don't remember it being having like brown or anything. I just remember it being jet black, just completely dark,
Yeah.
red, red eyes, a snout, had the ears going up about 3 to 4 inch, or maybe even more than 4 inches. Um, and could go from bipedal to all fours. And it was just, and like I said, the eyes were red, translucent. So that tells me it was adept at hunting at night. But it
Yeah.
was very stealthy. I mean, very stealthy. It wasn't something that was letting it's basically, it wasn't giving itself away very easily. I mean, you had to literally, like, the fact that we seen it when we saw it, I don't even know what told me to go and look outside at the time. That's what the weirdest thing is. Like I know I seen it come over the wall or whatever, and it was crawling on all fours, but it's like something, I don't even know what was telling me to look out there at the time. Like I don't even know why I was looking. Because I mean, I shouldn't even been able to see it. It should have just been able to walk by, but for whatever reason, we were able to catch it in a glimpse, and we caught it walking through our backyard.
Yeah. And I don't want to freak you out, but most likely, if there was one, there was probably more around.
No, yeah, I mean, it's one of those things, and the way it looked at us, I mean, it knew we were there, and it probably took some sort of inventory. Um, and like I said, I've done a lot of research on this because it's something that's stuck with me over the years, and I've just been trying to get answers for it, trying to see, what other, and what's interesting is there are other people out there that are experiencing this creature. I'm not the only one, and that's
Yeah.
what's crazy to think. It's like, this creature is out there, just like the Bigfoot. I believe in the Bigfoot. I think it's real,
Mhm.
and I think we've gotten so used to just staying, in our little bubbles that we don't really explore, the outside possibilities of what can be real and what, isn't, or what's just imagination. And there's some things that we would think are imagination, or think that they're, just some sort of folklore, but there's some truth to that. There's some reality to this, and that's kind of where I'm at with it. I know it's real. I know what I've seen, but I don't know what it is. Like, I don't know if it's an entity that is able to cloak itself through different, like you said, different realms. If it's a creature that's just so well adept at hunting at night that it can just go undetected, and it's hard to, because like I said, this thing was on all fours also. So if you've seen it from a distance, you would think, oh man, this is just a big bear or a big, whatever. You could very easily mistake it for being another animal.
Yeah. Yeah. That's frightening. And I've never had a dogman encounter, but I have had an experience here in the same area where I've had my Bigfoot encounters. But this was many years ago, and I was in my room. I had the window cracked. It was already nighttime. It was pretty dark out. And I heard what sounded like a werewolf, just like the "Orr," but loud and guttural, and it held out for a long time. And it was just right there in the wood line. And as soon as it ended, immediately I heard a scream like wow.
Oh
But
my
it really
gosh.
freaked me out. I slammed the window, I got back in my bed, and I thought my brother was messing with me. I was like, man, in the morning you're gonna get it, man. But like it wasn't him, and I never really knew what it was. And for many years I was like, man, that time my brother was messing with me out in the woods, don't know what he was doing out there. Until I
Oh my.
realized what Bigfoot was, I actually had encounters and reflected back on that situation. I was like, you know what? That could have been a dogman and a Sasquatch that ran into each other, because that's kind of what it sounded like. It sounded like a duel.
What's interesting is that, like, the Dogman, like, I didn't even know what Dogman was. Like, when I had this experience, and I didn't experience, I mean, I didn't know what a Dogman was up until maybe what, 5, 6, 7 years ago, maybe, because I've been in
Hmm.
this, I've been, doing my research and, following channels like your own, for some time now, because it's something, like I said, it sparks my interest after my experience. But I remember thinking, like, when I had the experience, I remember thinking, like, what is that? Like, I didn't even know what a dogman was. I never even heard of a dogman. So when I started doing the research on it, saying, okay, well, there's other people experiencing this stuff, I even thought, oh, well, maybe it could be a Bigfoot. I don't know. I mean, I don't know what these creatures are. I don't know what, I just know what I know what I saw. And it
Mhm.
kind of lines up with other people's experiences with the dogman like creature. And like I said, there was experiences in the vicinity, like within, I would say, 30-mile radius. There was different encounters where people would have, but I was trying to find specific encounters in that same city because of just how real it was to us. And I could pretty much guarantee somebody else had to have seen it. I
Yeah.
don't think I was the only one that saw it. And me and my brother, I don't think we were the only ones that saw it in our little city. And having channels like these, or people, that can actually, you know, listen to people like us and listen to our stories without judging, you can learn a lot. You can learn a lot about, just, the reality of what the possibility can possibly be. I mean, we don't know until we know, and I noticed a lot of times we're so quick to dismiss people's, you know, their encounters or their experiences. And I don't think that's the right thing to do. I think, you really should give people that benefit of the doubt, because their story, like you said, it's like there could be some truth to it and validity, and we could learn something. Because I do think this is a real thing. I don't think it's just something that I just made up, or I saw, a figment of my imagination. This was a real thing that I saw there with my brother, and I'm pretty sure other people have witnessed it also. I don't know how common it is, but it's it was surreal.
Yeah, it's a rare thing, but it does happen all over the globe. And this channel is a great place to learn something, even if it's a small detail or a location. It could really change the game for someone who's experienced something in their life.
Yes, and I know, like, hearing your channel, and because I pretty much listen to every show you have. I follow your podcast. I watch your channel all the time. I'm always up to date, and hearing some of your encounters and the people on your show, I mean, it's really helped me come out with mine, because it's like, you could tell some of these people, they're very real experiences and they affected them. And you could learn a lot from just listening to them and just hearing what their encounters were. And it's made me want to go out and just experience, not, I don't want to experience this Dogman again, but I'm interested in trying to find out more about the Bigfoot, things like that, because I know from what I've experienced with this Dogman, that there's things out there that we can't explain through conventional science, or maybe they can explain them, but we just don't have the tools or the technology at this point in time where we're at to be able to put a understanding or theory to it, per se.
Yeah, absolutely. All the tools are there, but you got to be rich to afford them. You need
Yeah,
that
yeah,
thermal, and it's like fifteen
it's so
thousand
expensive.
dollars.
Yeah, no,
The
it's
right
ridiculous.
drones, yeah, yeah. Everything is there, but it's just not affordable for the average person. It is for like military and law enforcement, but
Well,
not for
well,
squatchers.
yeah, and it's interesting to think. It's like, it's the truth. It's you're just so true. And like I said, I don't. I mean, I even think some of these things can go. They can, maybe they can outsmart some of the modern technology. Because I feel like this creature was something that I've never seen another animal really demonstrate. To this day, like I said, I've seen all sorts of wild animals, but I've never seen an animal that had that sort of level of sophistication, and how it was able to almost, pick up on details and you know, little things that I was doing, where I don't think I mean, I know animals have great sense of smell, but it's like, I don't know how the heck it even was able to smell me. I was inside the house behind the sliding glass door, so it was surreal, you know,
Yeah, they are
it was
supreme to our
surreal.
senses.
They are. And that's one thing I realized that day. It's like, I realized that humans, we may think because we're at the top of the pyramid when it comes to our, technology and things like that. But this creature, I mean, we don't stand a chance. Humans don't stand a chance if you were to meet this thing and you were on the wrong side of its, of its day, and you were maybe its prey or its next, food source. I would not want to be anywhere near this thing. You know. So
Yeah,
it's one of those things where it's like, I don't even want to go out and look for it again or experience it. And But it's just surreal. It's a surreal event that I'll never forget, and it will always stick with me. And you know,
Yeah.
it's just
And this
surreal.
is my first California story and my
Yeah,
first Dogman story. So I'm really glad to get that logged down.
yeah, man. Yeah, like I said, I was hesitant to tell my story just because it's like I don't, how people can be if they hear something that they're not used to hearing, or maybe they hear a story that seems kind of far fetched. But like I said, if anyone has a lie detector test, shit, I would willing to do it. I have nothing to hide, and this is a real event that took place, and I just maybe share my story because I know hearing stories like the ones on your channel have helped me come forward on my quest to try to understand and discover what these creatures, whether it's a Bigfoot or whether it's a dogman, what these creatures are and what they're doing here and how they basically operate.
Yeah. And I got one more detail to share with you before
Yeah,
we wrap up the show. Where I heard that vocalization, those two vocalizations out in the woods when I had the window open, it's kind of a funnel area, like a strip of woods that runs between two properties. And there's two giant forests that connect on each side. So it seemed like these creatures were in that funnel, like that bottleneck from
yeah,
one large forest to another. And I think you kind of mentioned that behind the wall there was like a strip of woods or something, like a
there
funnel or
is.
something.
Yeah, it sounds just like that. It sounds
Hmm.
exactly like the one you were describing.
Yeah. So
That's
maybe they,
exactly.
I mean, it makes me wonder, like, how many times was this dog man in your backyard?
To be honest with you, with all the killings that were taking place and my animal gone missing, I think these things were hunting every night. I mean, I think, like you said, there could be more than one. I just seen one. But I think that they were, but I don't, what's weird is that I feel like they came and went. Like, I don't feel like they stayed there long, because when it happened in such a fury. Like everything happened so quickly in chronological order. All the mutilations were taking place, all you know, the police investigations, things like that. It all happened within a sequence, within a year. I would say a year's
Hmm.
time, maybe even a couple months. The pinnacle was when it led up to the actual encounter, the sighting. That's when I kind of was able to put two and two together,
Hmm. Yeah, absolutely. And is there any large forest around this small town or your property?
There is, yeah. Well, not. I mean, they're not super large, but we do have like we're through the San Gabriel Valley mountains, which basically runs into the Los Angeles County National Forest, and
Hmm.
there have been sightings up there in the Los Angeles County National Forest of this creature. And like I said, where I sit, we sit in basically adjacent to two large mountain passes. It's almost like like a valley area, and we sit in between two large mountain passes. So they could use one of these corridors to get to, a hiding place in the forest rather easily, you know. So
Yeah,
that's
that's
something where it's like, and like I said, at the time, this was 20, 25 years ago. So there wasn't really even a lot of street lights, or it was mostly a town just, that was very quiet. And there was a lot of nurseries, a lot of open land, things like that. So it could have very easily gone undetected and been able to operate around that time. I don't think it could do it as of now. I think it'd be a
mhm.
little bit harder because it's been very, very developed now, the city that I'm talking about. But at the time, it wasn't like that. These encounters were taking place.
Yeah.
And my,
Kind of sounds
and my,
like he was coming out of the forest and he was planning on getting some food and going right back into the
that's
forest.
exactly what I was thinking. It was eating. It was easy food for it. You
Hmm.
know.
And that's why you don't find any evidence or like the actual creature. Like, where is he? You just see the damage done, but it
Yeah.
makes sense.
Well,
They're really smart.
and the part that I was so shocked by was just the way the animals were ending up mutilated. Like I was dumbfounded that, because usually you'll see a coyote or an animal, they'll take the whole carcass with them. They won't just leave. They won't just take the body of the carcass and just leave the head. But this creature was leaving just the head. From what I could see from the 3 or 4 different mutilations that I would see, or the killings, um, it would just take the whole body with it, and the head would just be there, like almost like it would just chomp at the head or the neck and just take it clean off. And the creature I saw could very easily have done this. I mean, it was larger than a bear. stronger and more muscular, and it taller when it was on its hind legs. So, I mean, like I said, it could take a bear on with ease, this creature.
Mm.
That's what makes me think, I don't know what, between a Bigfoot or this. I mean, I don't know. Because, I mean, you're talking the Bigfoot has a lot more size to it and height, probably even another foot in height. But this thing was, I mean, it looked like the biggest middle linebacker you could find in the history of the NFL.
Yeah. Yeah, that's frightening.
Yeah, it is. It's frightening, man. And I mean, I wanted to tell my story just to get it off my chest. And, but it was one of those things where it's like I still get goosebumps to this day. So and it will stay with me forever. So,
Yeah, I understand that.
yeah.
All right, sir. Well, I think that pretty well covers your encounter, and that covers all the questions that I had. And I appreciate you taking the time to get a hold of me and tell your encounter here on Sasquatch Theory.
Yeah, well, thank you, Miguel. I just want to say, I appreciate everything you do and your channel. And I mean, there's a reason why your popularity is continuing to grow, and you're, getting more and more subscribers every day. And, your channel is truly, it's at the pivotal of, needed information that we need to hear, because it's just not, the mainstream does not cover a lot of these things, out of fear or just a reluctance to, want to get to the truth. But your channel does a lot for people like me, and I thank you so much for everything you do, man. You're greatly appreciated. So,
well, I really appreciate you and everybody who listens to the channel.
yeah, man, thank you, and keep up the good work. And we'll be listening to you and keep in touch.
All right, man. Well, it was really good talking to you. And if you encounter anything else or experience any more, get a hold of me.
I definitely will, my friend.
All right, man. Well, I'll let you go for now, and we'll talk later.
Sounds good. Take care.
You too. So that was a really good interview, and I felt like the gentleman was being sincere and honest. It seems like to me there's a lot more to the ancient world than we know about. It does bother me in a sense that the greatest works of all times are just considered mythical stories. The Greeks talked about animal-human hybrids. Why would all these ancient civilizations build their cultures around fake ideas that are just made up? To me, it seems like a lot of this stuff actually happened, and the ancient people of the day just documented things as they happened. There is an ancient knowledge or wisdom that people have lost, and I want to find out what that is. The Native American elders say that if you talk about this, it could be a very bad thing, so they choose not to speak openly about this subject. Our government and the governments of the world choose to keep this a secret from us. Why? Is there something darker going on that we don't know about? And is this kept from mankind for a good reason? I have noticed that the things that have been removed from the Bible speak about these things that are happening today in our world. Why were they removed, and what is being hidden from us?